So how to strengthen? If an organization is using cloud services, ensure that IT personnel have reviewed and implemented strong controls. This is exactly what we were saying earlier. Make sure that your IT people have been through and made sure that everything is right. These are all the basic things that you're doing on your local network: continuous network monitoring, log files, admin permissions, enable user access logging, so that we know what time people are in. If people are logging in at 3 in the morning, they're probably not actually logging in at 3 in the morning. Make sure cloud-based machines with open public IPs do not have open RDP ports. RDP, remote desktop protocol, how you take control of another machine.
Yeah, there's no reason to, set up a secure VPN, land into a landing zone first, then use your remote desktop if you need it.
Enforce multi-factor app integrations. You should only have applications on your computers that your IT group has been through and checked that you need and that they're safe. Provide cyber hygiene training, connected device use policies, review email use and policies, especially because of phishing. Email filtering and detection for spam, phishing, and malware. Enable the safe attachments. Make sure people can't just by mistake click on something bad. And most important, establish a blame-free employee reporting system. If people mess up, it happens. We are human. It's not a problem. We'll fix it. Just report it immediately. You're not going to get in trouble. Just report it quickly before it spreads.
Yeah.
And many cloud attacks could easily be stopped. IBM claimed that over half of cloud security breaches are caused by issues simple to rectify.
Yeah, and I contest that a little bit. When they say simple, they don't. It's funny because it's on some level I agree if it's just making sure that you actually set up a security group when you're setting up a container. That kind of stuff is relatively simple. But this is a complex infrastructure and it's growing. It's like, it goes back to what we said. Making sure that you sit down and architect your cloud infrastructure properly is a really important step to this. And when they say, that it's configuration and simple to rectify, I really think of it in those terms. If you sat down and planned and made sure you understood and had the expertise to build it and set up the security properly, then you could avoid a lot of this.
And just so you know, we are currently doing some changes to our SecuLore's infrastructure. And one of the things that we're doing is making sure that before we go over, we have the meeting where we talk about where everything belongs, what security policies we need to change, et cetera. This is something that everyone has to go through. It is not your IT staff being a pain in the neck. You need to go through this. Zero trust. Zero trust is the new buzzword. And if you want to sound smart about security, just say, oh yeah, zero trust. All zero trust means is that instead of having a trusted area, you plug into the wall, you're on our network, that sort of thing, everything requires identification before you go to it. So who should be accessing it, what should be accessed, and what application is used to access it. When are you accessing? Again, if I'm logging in at 3 in the morning, either there's an emergency and somebody called me, or it's not me. And you'll know if it's an emergency because somebody else had to have called me. Where is the packet destination? Where's it going? This is something that SecuLore works with you on. Why is this packet trying to access this resource? Pardon me. If there's a good reason to go to a dangerous place, well, you go to a dangerous place, but there might not be a good reason. And how is the packet accessing it? Anyone who's been through a cyber benchmark has heard our riff on DNS, on domain name service, and how that's used a lot of times to set up exfiltration. So how is it accessing it? That doesn't look like a DNS packet. Then we should look at that.
Yeah, DNS is still to this day used for exfiltration quite a bit. They just add it right to the domain name as a subdomain, and it's actually an encoded payload that they're sending back to command and control. So it's interesting because even security companies, some security companies like Symantec still use it to update their antivirus. So they're actually signatures embedded in DNS that they're sending to the destination.
So you have to verify and secure all your network resources. This is what it doesn't look like yet, but will. The user and the custodian, so anybody working there logs into their workstation, goes into a zero trust controller. That is what gives control to other things. But it separates out user interfaces from custodial ones, management ones. In other words, Alex, being our chief engineer, should be able to get to anything. Cameron, who started this discussion, probably shouldn't. How do you ensure that? Well, you do it through a zero trust controller in a zero trust model that tests at every step, who are you? So how are devices connected? This is current. What does it look like? We've got a firewall blocking, going between our network and the internet, and then on our network, everything goes everywhere. Where we want to move is instead, everything is segmented and has a firewall in between them. All of our data locations should be protected from other data locations. That's really important and really kind of difficult to do. Virtual LANs are important. Doing them on firewalls help a lot.
Oh, and by the way, all of this is applicable to the cloud too, which is why we have it in this talk. Right. Because once you set up your VPC, if you want to have a cloud-based architecture, today it's possible. You still follow the same IT principles of segmentation, role-based access security groups. You can have firewalls in between different virtual private networks if you so choose. So you really have a lot of fine-tuned control in terms of making things segmented properly and architected properly.
And back up both devices and cloud containers. Do not trust them to back it up for you.
Yeah, and the only caveat I'd say to cloud containers is many cloud containers are stateless, but make sure that those images are backed up in some way. Because if they are mission critical images and someone gains control and deletes it, then where are you? It's not in a good place.
Preparing for the inevitable. Do you have a clear understanding of your cyber posture? We hope so. Effective network protections and tools for your IT staff. Ongoing cyber training. People need to know what they're doing. Cybersecurity policies and preventative practices. And it's not enough to just have policies, they have to be enforced. A cyber incident response plan. If everything goes wrong, what are you going to do? These are critical for your cyber health. And there are different layers of depth. A firewall protects the perimeter, content filtering protects what's coming in and out, architecture of authentication and tiered Active Directory. So if you're an IT person on one, that should not make you an IT person on everything. That should all be tiered. DNS should be internal, not external. We talk about that a lot. Email filtering and training on emails. Don't click on that. Endpoint protection, antivirus. There is no security company good enough to protect your endpoints without an antivirus solution there. Remote access. How do you do remote access? Make sure it's done safely. And a sophisticated network architecture design. Make sure that you're separated the way you need to be. And then, of course, monitor. Monitoring matters.